Hey, what is going on, guys? You already know it's the Orlando, and today, guys, I'm bringing you guys part 3 of the top 10 rarest builds in 2K. I mean, I've already made part 1, part 2. We've gone over some builds, like amazing rare builds you never see in the park, like the rugged wing and all sorts of other type of builds. I feel like these videos are really fun because, you know, I'm learning about these builds we never see in the park and why we really don't see these builds in the park. And you guys get to see these builds you guys probably don't really see too often, or maybe never at all. But before we start the video, man, make sure you guys take 2 seconds out of your day, drop a like on the video and subscribe for some more 2K content. And so you guys know, if you guys want to ask me any questions, make sure to leave the comment down below. I respond to all my comments the first hour I release a video, so make sure you turn on your post notifications. So if you got a question to ask me, you know, I'll definitely respond to all those people within the first hour. But without further ado, let's just get right into the video. The interior playmaker. This build you don't see at all, and this is how you make it. You're gonna want to make a center build and pick the red and green pie chart, the defensive and shooting pie chart. For the second pie chart, y'all can pick whichever one you want. And then when we get into the attributes, you're gonna want your badges to read this: 1 finishing, 5 shooting, 16 playmaking, and 13 defensive rebounding badges. And then with the height, you gotta go 7 feet tall. And for the weight, I just kept it, you know, I moved it up a little bit so I would get 95 strength at least. And then for the wingspan, I just left it at normal. So your stats like this for this build should read, you know, your finishing, inside finishing is all in the 60s. Your shooting, you can actually hit a mid-range shot with this build. I don't know about a 3-point shot. You got a 59 3-pointer. Maybe if you hit 99 overall, you'll get it up to a 63 64, which isn't too horrible. I mean, it is, but you know, it is what it is. And then the passing accuracy is actually really high, obviously, and the post moves is high. And your defense, your interior defense is all right. Your rebounding stats are kind of okay. Your block is high, and everything else is just kind of cruise. And then you get a choice of 4 takeovers on this build. You pick whichever one you like, and then you get the interior playmaker. This build, as y'all can see in the stats, is not very good. This is why you don't see this build out in the park like that. I mean, if you were to make it, you would probably be making it for Pro-Am. Yeah, this build kind of sucks, and that's why it's on the list. The next build on the list is the 2-way 3-level facilitator. That's a mouthful. This is a build you really don't see at the park. You do see a lot of 3-level scores and sharpshooting facilitators at the park, but not this build right here. If you want to make this build, you're going to want to make them into a point guard and pick the defensive and shooting pie chart. And then after that, you're going to want your attributes to read this: 6 finishing, 18 shooting, 10 playmaking, and 19 defensive rebounding badges. This build gets a lot of badges, as y'all can see. That is a lot of badges. What's the math on this? About 30, 40. You get about like 50 badges on this build. So this build's no joke, man. It's a rare build that gets tons of badges. A lot of these rare builds don't be getting that many badges, but this one does. And then for the height, you're gonna want to make them 6'5". And then obviously for these guard builds, I always like to go minimum weight, so you get increased speed and acceleration. And for the wingspan on this build, you're gonna want to go with minimum wingspan, so the shooting is as high as possible. Having the minimum wingspan, you know, it's gonna be harder to play defense, but this is a 2-way build. Look at the stats. The defensive stats are pretty high, so maybe it just won't affect it as much. But you know, you get perimeter defense 84, lateral quickness and steal in the 80s. You get an 85 defensive rebound. Your shooting stats are really good, man. They're in the, you know, mid 80s, and you get a bunch of shooting badges on this build. And look at the ball handle. You have a 78 ball handle. If you get this build to say like a 99 overall, you're gonna be able to like speed boost in the game after you make a couple shots, which is fantastic, you know. The inside game, this build can, you know, dunk, hit driving layups, has a high close shot. I consider this build actually really good, and I'm surprised, you know, I don't see this build a lot more often in the park. I have seen it in the park, but not very often, and that's why I consider this build really rare. But after, you know, you do the wingspan and all that, you get a choice of 4 takeovers. You pick whichever one you like, and then you get the screen. you have built a two-way 3-level facilitator. And to be honest, this build is actually really good. I might actually consider making it and making some videos on it. Who knows? But what do y'all think of this build? I think I like it. I like it. It's rare, and that's why it's on the list. The next build on the list is the Finesse Finisher. Yo, this build you really don't see at the park. You're gonna want to make them into a small forward, and then for the first pie chart, you're gonna want to pick the blue pie chart, the one that's mostly finishing. All right, and then after you do that, you're gonna want your attributes and badges to read this: 18 finishing, 1 shooting, 13 playmaking, and 8 defensive rebounding badges, which gives you a total of 40 badges, which isn't too bad. And after that, you're gonna want to make this build 6'7". Y'all can move around the weight however you like, and then you do max wingspan on this build. And as y'all can see here, the stats on this build are actually, you know, decent. I don't know if they're decent. Let's look over the stats. You get a 93 driving layup, an 80 driving dunk, meaning at 99.9 overall, you will get contact dunks on this build, which is, you know, not bad at all. And then you get an 81 standing dunk. You get a little bit of a mid-range jump shot with a 63. Your ball handle's a 71. Post moves, you know, it's whatever. Your interior defense is kind of not good. Your perimeter defense is all right. Everything else, your rebounding, everything else is just kind of mediocre. It's not like awful, but it's not great or good. It's just like mediocre. This build's just kind of mediocre anyways. But you do get a choice of 3 takeover badges on this build. Choose whichever one you like if you decide to make this build, and then it says you have built a Finesse Finisher. This build, in my opinion, is really dookie. I would never make it, but if you guys decide to make it and you want to have a rare build, that's why it's on the list. The next build on the list is the Defensive Anchor. It sounds like the badge, right? The defensive anchor badge from past 2Ks. Yeah, but it's a build in this game, all right? You're gonna want, if you want to make this build, you're gonna want to make them into a center and pick the red pie chart, the fully defensive and rebounding pie chart. And after that, you're gonna want your badges to read this on the attributes page: 15 finishing, 1 shooting, 3 playmaking, and 27 defensive rebounding badges. Then you're gonna want to make them 6'7" with a max wingspan of 90.7. It's gonna be a short center, a very short center. And I meant to say 6'9", not 6'7". I don't know what I was thinking about. You can't make a center 6'7", but he's 6'9", wingspan 90.7. And these are his stats. You know, his inside game's actually pretty good. He can drive dunk, he can, you know, hit layups. He has a high close shot, a high driving dunk, a high standing dunk. His pass accuracy is pretty high, and his defensive stats are obviously off the chart, bro. He's a defensive anchor, right? Look at those stats. His offensive rebounds kind of low, and if you want to make this build, like you want to get the defensive anchor name, you have to make it like this, man. If you give him more offensive rebounding, you're just not gonna get it. It's just little things like that is how you get rare builds. You gotta like tweak it properly. And after all of that, you get a choice of 2 takeovers on this build. You choose whichever one you like, and then it says you have built a defensive anchor. And hey, this build is what it says. It's a highly defensive build. He's on the short side. No one really makes it because no one makes 6'9" centers unless you're a brown shirt or you're new to the game. I don't know who makes a 6'9" center. Who knows? Anyways, his build's kind of trash because he's short, and that's why it's on the list. The next build on the list is the 2-way tempo pusher. This build, if you want to make this build, you're going to want to make them into a shooting guard and pick the orange and red pie chart, which is the mostly defensive and playmaking pie chart. After that, you're going to want your badges to read 1 finishing, 1 shooting, 17 playmaking, and 22 defensive rebounding badges, which gives you a total of like what, 41 badges? Quick math, am I right? I don't know, let me know. But after that, you're going to want to make them 6'5", and I do minimum weight to maximize the speed and acceleration And then you want to do minimum wingspan. So your jump shot, your mid-range jump shot gets to a 75. Your 3-point shot's at a 69, which will bump up to a 74 once you reach 99 overall. Your inside game, man, you can actually make a layup. You can dunk. You got a close shot. You can speed boost on this build. You can, you know, do some post moves. Your passing's good. Your perimeter defense is good. Your steal's good. Your rebounding's off the charts for a guard. You can block shots. Bro, this build, look at the build, bro. This build can actually do everything. This build is actually really good for a rare build. Why don't we see it at the park? I think I've seen this build at the park twice. But yo, this build is rare because, you know, I've only seen it twice. That's pretty rare to me. It's a 2-way tempo pusher, and once you finish that build, you get a choice of 4 takeovers. You pick one, and boom, you have built a 2-way tempo pusher. This build is actually nice. I hope I see more of these at the park, because yo, this build can play defense, it can shoot, it can finish. Somebody who watches this video better make this build, and I better see it at the park. Send me a screenshot on Twitter at OrlandoinChicago, and maybe I'll give you a little present for making this build. You know what I'm saying? Not a 60 overall. I want to see like a 95 plus overall build of this in the park. All right, and if I do, that's what's up. But that's why this build is on the list. The next build on the list, we're gonna keep it up. It's another 2-way. It's the 2-way inside out scorer. Yes, this build is rare, and if you want to make it, you're gonna want to make him into a point guard and pick the green and red pie chart, the shooting and defensive rebounding pie chart. All right, you click on that, you're gonna want to read these badges right here. You want these badges: 10 finishing, 14 shooting, 11 playmaking, 17 defensive rebounding badges, and that totals up to what? Quick math. Orlando, snap your fingers. Think. That's 40, 47, 51, 52 badges. Damn, bro, 52 badges on this build. Why don't I see this build at the park? I don't know. You're gonna want to make this build 6'5". You know, you can lower his weight to increase your speed and acceleration. And for the wingspan, you're just gonna want to keep it at 79.8. And let's look at these stats, bro. This build can finish inside the paint really good. Look at the stats. Driving dunk, you can throw a layup, you can throw a little post hook. You got a close shot. You guys can shoot a 78 mid-range and 81 3-point shot. Bro, you can pass. You can't speed boost though. No speed boosting. No. So that's a little downside for a point guard. That's all right. You got the defense. Look at the defensive stats. They're off the chart, bro. This build is not too bad. If you don't care about dribbling, this build is actually a good build to make. He's pretty quick. You can shoot. You can score. You can play defense. Bro, somebody better make this build too. I got 2 back-to-back builds that are actually really good, man. That's crazy. But yeah, you get a choice of 4 takeovers. You pick one, and once you pick one, it says you have built the 2-way inside score. I don't see this build in the park ever. Have I ever seen it? No, I don't think I've ever seen this build in the park. All right, so that's why it's considered rare, and that's why it's on the list. The next build on the list is a deep range shot creator. I have seen a few of these at the park, but it's still a rare build because they're not all over the park. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyways, if you want to make this build, you're going to want to make them into a point guard and pick the mostly green pie chart, which is the shooting pie chart. And after that, you want your badges to read this: 1 finishing, 28 shooting, 7 playmaking, and 10 defensive rebounding badges, which gives you a total of, quick maths, 46 badges. That was quick. And for this build, you're gonna want to make them 6'2", a little short, minimum weight, and a minimum wingspan, you know, so you get the shot up, you know what I'm saying? Look at this build right here. He can shoot, bro, except the mid-range is a 78. It's not bad, but it's not like his 95 3-point shot, which is amazing. He can speed boost once he reaches 99 overall, because look at that, you get an 82, you get a +4. At 99, that's an 86. So you will be able to dribble with this build. It's like a speed boosting sharpshooter from like 2K17. So this build is actually looking pretty tough. The defense, you know, any green pie chart build is not gonna have amazing defense, but it's mediocre. You can get some stops sometimes. Not with being 6'2", but yeah. Anyways, You get a choice of 2 takeovers on this build. Pick one, and then it will tell you you have built a deep range shot creator. In this build, he may be short, but he can shoot, and that's why he's on the list. The next build on the list is the inside out facilitator. This build, like all the other builds, you don't really see it at the park. And if you want to make this build, you're going to want to make him into a shooting guard and pick the blue and green pie chart, the mostly, finishing and shooting pie chart. And then you're going to want your badges to read 14 finishing, 21 shooting, 12 playmaking, and 7 defensive rebounding badges. And this build gets 54 badges. 54! That's a lot of badges for this build, but his height is gonna be 6'5", minimum weight, and for his wingspan, we're gonna leave it at 81.6. Let's take a look at his stats, bro, because he gets 54 badges. His inside game is, crazy, bro. At like 97 overall, you get contact dunks. Your driving layup's amazing. Your close shot is amazing. Your shooting is actually really good, above average, bro. 80 mid-range, 80 3-point shot. Your free throw, man, you're gonna hit him in the clutch time with this build, all right? Your passing's good. You can't speed boost, but your ball handle's still kind of high. I think at 99 overall, and you make a couple shots, you'll be able to speed boost, But his defense is probably his weakness. That's the weakness of this build. Oh, come on, he's an inside-out build. He does everything inside and outside, just not on the defensive end. You heard? But after that, you pick one out of the 4 takeover badges, and then it says you have built the inside out facilitator. You don't see this build at the park. This build's actually a offensive beast, and that's why it's on the list. The next build on the list is the mid-range finisher. Like the other builds, like I've said so many times, this build is rare, very rare, and this is how you make it. You're gonna want to make him into a power forward, and you're gonna want to pick the blue and green pie chart. That is the finishing and shooting pie chart. And after that, you're gonna want your badges to read 14 finishing, 21 shooting, 16 playmaking, and 1 defensive rebounding badge. This build gets a total of 52 badges. 52. That's a lot of badges. But for a power forward, you're gonna want to make him 6'9" and just leave his weight as is. And for his wingspan, you're gonna want to go minimum wingspan. All right, minimum wingspan, which is kind of brutal on the big. So maybe this is the reason why this build is rare. But his stats are gonna read: he has a good jump shot. His inside game's actually really good. His playmaking is really good. His defense is horrible, bro. This man cannot get a rebound for his life, right? Don't expect to get a rebound. Don't expect to get a stop. This build's just kind of on the defensive end. But after that, you pick one of 2 takeovers, and then it will have told you you have built the mid-range finisher. A power forward build, and they can finish inside the paint, pass the ball, and shoot a little bit. But don't expect to get stops with this build, and that's why it's on the list. The last build on the list is the all-around 2-way. If you want to make this rare build, you're going to want to make him to a point guard and pick the defensive and shooting pie chart. And after that, you're going to want your badges to read 10 finishing, 17 shooting, 10 playmaking, 11 defensive rebounding badges. As y'all can see, the badges look pretty well rounded. You get a total of 48 badges, and you get 10 plus badges on each category, which is really good. And for this build, you're going to want to make them 6'1". Minimum weight, and then for your wingspan, you're going to want to make it 76.6. So the stats for this short build right here, he's going to have some decent, finishing stats. He's going to be able to dunk for a 6'2" guard. He's going to be able to shoot. He can speed boost at 99 overall, and his defensive stats are not too shabby. His build, besides being 6'2", is actually pretty nice. But yeah, you get a choice of one of 4 takeovers. After you pick one, it's going to read you have built a all-around two-way. I mean, if you can make this build 6'7", I would probably consider making it, but since you can't, this build is kind of dookie, and that's why it's on the list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, man. This was part 3 of the top 10 rarest builds in 2K this year. But make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. But for right now, guys, I'm the O, and I'm out.
Big racks coming, I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the fit lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming, coming in. Yeah, flex, I just wanna win. Yeah, LABB.